know how you feel? I feel super awkward right now. Like when we were just casually talking, it's so fun. And then now it's like, my name is Felicia. Hello.
Hi, I'm Zoe, a human being who failed to live a conventional life. I have a deep interest in people and their choices of life. In my podcast, I'll be having conversations with individuals who are open to talk about their mental journeys in life. This season is called My Mental Journey of Migration. 8 guests will share their experiences of living in different cultures.
Hi, my name is Felicia. I'm currently located in Amsterdam. I'm originally from sunny Singapore. If you don't know it, it's an island, a capital, and also a country. Right now in Amsterdam, I am a senior UX designer with a bank. I was a finance graduate, and then I decided that, okay, I'm going to work in a finance job because my friend told me that finance is where I get the money. So I decided that like, okay, my first job is going to be in finance, and I worked in a futures trading company. And after working for a while, one of my friends asked me if I want to backpack Europe for a month. So I said yes. And we traveled Europe for a month, and I realized that the world is really big. So I thought, okay, I'm going to plan how I quit my job and just travel South Asia. And after that, I just saved and did some research on how do I travel cross borders. And I looked at Google Maps. I'm not sure if Google Maps was there at that time. I was just looking at the map and I see, okay, where can I travel to cross borders to go home to Singapore? And then I noticed, India is the place to go. So I researched the best season to go to India, to hike in Nepal and things like that. And decided, okay, I'm going to buy a one-way ticket to India. And I just traveled from India and try to get back to Singapore.
Did you already quit your job at that point?
Yes, I quit my job. I planned my resignation, actually. So I knew that October was going to be a good time to start. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to buy a one-way ticket to India. I can hike Nepal in November. Then I traveled for about 5 months. After traveling, I got back to Singapore and I didn't want to be in finance anymore because that really isn't what I want to do. I spoke to so many people and there's just so many things that is possible for me. So when I was in a full-time finance job, right, I actually studied to become a teacher, to become an English teacher, because I've always wanted to join the JET program. The JET program specifically where it brings you to a place in Japan to teach English. So I was actually getting a teaching certification already when I was in the finance job. So I got into this Japanese school who teaches English to Japanese. I'm not sure what that is called, actually, that type of school. So I taught students from 5 years old to 55 years old. And I was like, yeah, this is going to test my patience a little bit. I'm not really sure if it's going to work out, but we'll see how it goes. I just know that I don't want to go back to finance again. I wanted to become a finance advisor because I thought, okay, that was where all the money is going to be. And sometimes when I look back, I do think about it, but I like my life now. At some point in my life, definitely I did regret like, oh no, that's where all the money is. But what if at some point in my early 20s, I did think about that. But now, no, not so much. I really like where I am right now. And it's challenging every day.
You kept saying that when you were back from the European backpacker traveling experience, you feel the world is big. Like,
yeah.
What does that feeling come from?
In the past, I used to travel with my friends. You know, in my first job, I got the money and I'm like, yay, I'm going to spend these money. Let's just go to Hong Kong. Let's go to Taiwan. Oh, let's shop. And it's really fun, right? Like to travel as a tourist. And I never knew that, maybe it sounds very cliche, traveling as a tourist versus traveling as a backpacker, you see things very differently. As a tourist, you just go and eat and have a good time and I don't know, shop, spend money, just go to cities. And when I was backpacking, obviously in Europe, I did go to cities, but backpacking is very different from just touristy things, right? And backpacking just opened up this mind where I realize that there's just so much stuff going on in the world rather than the things that I already know. Because I think maybe Hong Kong, Taiwan, these places are so comfortable and it's so familiar. And the fact that when I went to Europe, everything is so different. At that time, I think it was 2013, 2014 that I went to Europe. I just felt like the world is so big and I needed to explore a little bit more. And at that time, I didn't have a lot of money. think 4,000 euros. And with that 4,000 euros, I thought, hey, I think I can survive Asia with 4,000 euros for a little bit and see when I run out of money. And yeah, so I went to India as the first destination.
How was the experience? Did you enjoy it?
Yes and no. I have a love and hate relationship with India. I think when I first landed, I thought India was like 40 years behind or something because they were still using this huge monitor with really bad UI design. I don't even know how they navigate the system. The train system was horrible. There was no clarity. There was so much uncertainty. When you want to try to book from one place to another, I don't even know if I'm going to make it to the next destination. Food was amazing, but I got really sick for one day and I couldn't move.
You also traveled to other countries like Vietnam and Malaysia. And how was your experience there? Do you feel there's cultural differences between these countries?
I think one thing I discovered that's really funny is that when I was trying to cross the border from India to Nepal, is that you see the Indian and Chinese mixed ethnicity going on there. I don't even know how to explain what that is, but when I hear Nepalese for the first time, I was like, dude, this sounds a little bit like Indian, but also sounds a little bit like Chinese. What is going on here? Well, that's the memory that I remember for the first time when I heard Nepalese. I don't know how you call it, Nepalese for the first time. You do see certain features kind of blend when you go to Nepal. And then when I go to China, I was just really shocked. Oh, wow, they are so modern already. And I've never stepped foot here. I felt so ignorant. There are a lot of like amazing, cheap, good food around at that time. Really beautiful places. Well, in Vietnam, it also felt a little bit different. It felt very similar to Thailand. I've been to Thailand before. Yeah, I made a little bit of comparison. Culture-wise, I'm not really sure. I don't think I really mingled a lot with the locals. But I think I remember in China when I met a group of friends, we just randomly met and we decided that we're going to cycle 80 kilometers around a lake. I forgot the name of the lake, but we couldn't make it because it was too far. They were so interesting when they made a comment about how I spoke Chinese. They were like, huh? Singaporean speaks Chinese? At that time, I think Singaporeans is not known yet. Every time I meet somebody, they would say, is Singapore part of Malaysia? Is Singapore part of China? Is Singapore, where is Singapore? They're just so confused. And, but right now, people know and have been to Singapore. And I was like, huh? So different from when I backpacked years ago that people are still ignorant from where I'm from. And now I hear people telling me, oh, Singapore, you can't have gum. Oh, Singapore, it's so clean. And I'm like, okay, I'll take that compliment. Really, really clean country. Ha ha ha. So do you realize how dirty your country is? That's what I say to them.
I like it. I like it.
When I was traveling around Asia, right, it took me about 5 months and I thought, okay, I really couldn't finish the Malaysia plan that I had for myself. I was just so tired. So I did mention that I wanted to cross all the borders and get home, right? So crossing the border from Johor Bahru, which is in Malaysia, to go back to Singapore, that was my initial plan. And obviously also see a lot of different places in Malaysia that I've never explored before. When I was in Thailand, I thought, dude, I'm just so tired. I want to just go home, lie in bed, spend time with my family and have some Singaporean food. After 5 months, I was just so tired. And then when I got back, I decided to give the teaching thing a shot. I worked there for about a year. I thought I missed the spending power that I used to have. So I was like, I don't really have a lot of money now. And then when I spend money with my friends, I felt a little bit stressful. So I was like, oh no, like I can't spend as much because I don't earn as much now because I was a freelance teacher teaching English at that school. So whenever there's a student, I earn money by the hour. It's quite okay. It's a relaxing job, but I think like being too relaxed for a year is not really for me. And then I started thinking, okay, what's next? And somehow my previous client from the finance job, he kind of brought up the idea of me working for his startup and we get along pretty well. So somehow he got this visa for me to go to Japan to work. So I worked for his startup.
Wait. So his startup is in Japan?
Yes, his startup is in Japan. So I decided to, hey, okay, I'm going to join his startup in Japan. Let's see how it goes. And when he got the visa for me and I finally was confirmed that I will move to Japan, I was shocked. I didn't know what to do because I've never been to Japan despite speaking the language for the past 10 years. I was screaming in my head, even though I looked really calm and, but then of course I was also confused and scared because I've never lived abroad my entire life. I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give it a shot. I'm still young. I can still freely experience around when I was at that time. I think I was 25. I don't really remember. Mid 20s, right? Ooh, you're going to live in Japan. Ooh, it's going to be exciting. And I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed the experience.
And when you first arrived Japan, basically, what's your first impression of Japan when you arrived there?
I was overwhelmed by the crowd. There were so many people. I was shocked. So I went to all the famous spots. I went to Akiba. I went to Asakusa. And I was, yeah, all of these places. I've seen it in the TV. I'm going to go try them out. I'm going to go explore, walk around. And I was just so excited. It felt like I was backpacking again. I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to try this and that and eat this and that. And obviously, it was a 美食天堂.
The heaven of food.
Yeah. It was so obviously a place where there is a lot of amazing food when I arrived that time, new things to try. I wanted to try everything. And the first day of my job was interesting.
Oh, now we are talking about work. It's not just playing around, spending money and eating.
Yeah, I was really excited to spend money though, even though I didn't have much, obviously, when I was a teacher. But I was very excited to try things out. Well, cheaply, but yeah, we're talking about work.
Tell us what happened on your day one when you joined the startup.
Well, so I was young and naive. I didn't really research much of the startup. I just knew, well, it's an IT corporation that helps entrepreneurs who are selling items on Amazon. It was a platform to help them manage their inventory. So it's like an add-on IT platform. So I thought, oh, okay, it sounds interesting. It's going to be in web design. And I think I've already thought about web design for a really long time, but I didn't really get into it. I thought like it was really intimidating. So I think, okay, sure. Why not we start with something small? It's a startup. We're going to start. And I thought the first day at work, wow, fancy office on the 10th floor, isolated office. You need your access card to get to level 10. And then there's this glass door. And then it's a small company. And I was, oh, I'm used to small company. Like the English teaching Japanese school back in Singapore is also a small company. So I'm not really foreign to working with a Japanese person. So my boss, my teaching school boss was a Japanese. And now my boss and my colleagues are Japanese. Mm-hmm. And there was this package that was delivered to the office. And I was curious. I was thinking, what up? Why is everyone so excited about this package? When they opened up the package, I thought, hey, it looks familiar. I've been to Amsterdam during my 1 month of Europe trip. I think I know what it is.
Yeah. Okay. Things become a little dodgy. Okay, go on.
Okay. This story is very graphic because I remember it very, very clearly at the top of my head because I tell this story to a lot of my closer friends. Sounds unbelievable, but here goes. So the package arrived. It looks like flashlight. So it's not FLASH with a flashlight that has lights that you know of, but flashlight thing that you get off with for men to masturbate.
Thank you for explaining this. And I'm getting more and more excited about the stories.
I doubted for a while. Doubted if I seen something wrong for a while. But then one of this guy was telling this other colleague of mine, hey, go to the convenience store, go get batteries. We should test this baby out right now. And I'm like, test what? What's going on here? You know, like, what is this? He got the batteries. And this other colleague was pumping up an air mattress in front of the elevator. Remember the elevator, you needed some private access in order to get on. So I don't know why. He was just pumping an air mattress right in front of the elevator, right in front of the front door with the glass door over there. And then this other colleague was taking out the huge TV that we have, pushed it to the door, and started playing porn for this dude who came back with batteries. So yeah, he was masturbating there with the porn turned on. And I saw the porn on the reflection of the glass door and I was shooketh. I did not believe what the heck I just saw. Wait, what? What just happened? So I remember this story because like,
oh my God, I'm completely shocked.
Yeah. So I remember this story because I used to work with my colleagues at the Japanese school, right? The English teaching school with Japanese people. And I have a colleague there who knows Japanese people, who speaks a lot with who interacts a lot with Japanese people. So she was not even surprised. She was just laughing when I told her the story. And I took a not selfie, but sounds bad, but I just took a sneaky photo of the reflection of that window. Obviously, he is not in the shot. My colleague was not in the shot because no way I'm going to see that. But yeah, I remember this story clear as day.
Well, how did you react? You took a selfie and then you left the place. And what happened next? It sounds, I don't know, I feel very uncomfortable, and I don't know, what do you feel back then?
Well, I was in shock, obviously. I couldn't believe what I just saw. I mean,
no way. It's like I feel I'm just listening to a story that can only happen in another universe. But
no, I am kind of surprised, but also kind of not, because I heard about the Japanese culture a little bit already. They're more repressed, etc. But the fact that I've seen it firsthand, well, as long as that person is not harassing me or whatever, and he's doing his own thing, I was just laughing it off. Because yeah, I wasn't really offended. I was shocked. I wasn't really offended. Maybe it's a weird reaction, but to me, I don't really care. He's not flashing it in front of me. That's fine. Yeah, I thought it was really funny. I'm sorry, but I think it's really funny and gross at the same time. It's really funny. I was just laughing when I was telling my friend. I was like, what the heck just happened? No way. It's so weird. But yeah, I stayed away from that colleague for a long time. I just did not want to interact with him much because it's just so weird.
That doesn't sound like a very nice place to work. And I'm happy that you left that place.
I sound quite problematic if I didn't leave because of that. But I realized that I was the only woman when I was there. I did not ask about the company size. I did not ask much. At least I did not remember me asking these questions. I just was so excited to work in Japan. I know I was just young and naive. I left the place because the company didn't really have a focus. I think that startup wanted to do too many things at once. And at that time, I wasn't a UX designer. I didn't know lean startup. I didn't know all of these methodologies, right? So I'm just doing my job as I was told. I mean, obviously in Japan culture, you're just given a job and you do your job. So I was basically a marketing manager. I also managed their website. So they wanted to do the Amazon thing. They wanted to do a halal thing. They wanted to do Dubai business. It's just too many things going on at the same time. So they don't have a specific vision that they want to go. So I didn't want to be lost. And I found an English speaking job, which is a headhunter in Tokyo, because speaking Japanese every day at work works a lot of my brain power. And I worked there for a bit.
Do you have a better understanding of Japanese culture after 1.5 years working there? Does that fit in our stereotype of Japan, or you have new discovery about Japanese culture?
This is an interesting question. So growing up at some point, Japanese drama is like a thing. Obviously, I watch Japanese animation. I really love it. Like, it's so creative. Slam Dunk was one of the anime that I watched, Pokemon and et cetera, et cetera. You have this image in Japan, like also in Japanese drama, that they're so teine. Teine means like very polite, very formal, very nice to everyone. Like, obviously, like Japanese services are top notch. No doubt, no doubt. I do also notice that they're also human, right? They are not nice 24/7 of the time. When I was in the train, I didn't know that I could not speak on the phone at that time. So I did speak on the phone, and you do see people look at me weird, but nobody stepped up and told me that, hey, you can't speak on the phone in here. And I missed the memo. I was new to Japan. I didn't see that there was a sign that says no talk on your phone, or like you can't speak loudly with your friend. And then another thing is, when you're in the crowded train, they don't care about personal space. Come on. They just want to get in the train. They just want to go home. And the crowd in the train is not fun. Like, it's really not fun. And at 8 o'clock, when you're done with work at 8 p.m., by the way, in Europe, 8 p.m., you're already with your family chilling out.
That's really long hours.
Yeah. So like at 8 p.m., I would go there on the train, and it's super crowded. And you're like, oh my gosh, I thought if I left later, it wouldn't be so crowded. But I was wrong. Sometimes it still can be quite crowded. You don't get a seat. Well, it's not new to me. And I know there's nomikai, which is, they call it nomunication. So nomi means to drink, like nomimas means to drink. And nomikai is a gathering where you drink together. And communication is basically you communicate through drinking. And sometimes after work, I'm just drinking beer. And that's where I grew a love for beer at that time. When I first moved to Japan in my first month, I think I drank more beers than I ever drank in my entire life.
So what made you decide to leave Japan and then come to Netherlands?
So when I was in my headhunter job, I really enjoyed the aspect of interviewing people, getting to know people, and then understanding where they want to go. But in general, I don't really like to do the research part where you find candidates. And when you find candidates, you really have to make some calls and get your way into the company and find the candidate. And it's not enjoyable. From then on, I realized like, hey, I really have to find a job that sticks and a job that I enjoy 40 hours a week and not just be in Japan just because I like Japan. And I started researching and I found this book called The Design of Everyday Things by Don Norman. It's amazing. I just realized that, oh, user experience actually exists in this world. And then I started researching, right? At that time, I was thinking, oh, maybe I want to do marketing. Oh, maybe I want to do PR. Maybe I want to do a master degree in business since I don't know what to do next. But then I realized that, hey, UX design seems pretty nice and it's pretty cool and suits my personality, I think. And then I found this A Day in Life as a UX designer and I thought, oh, this is what I want to do. And then I started researching courses for UX design and I found a couple of courses in the United States and it's so expensive. I think it's 40 grand a year. So what struck was a course in the Netherlands. Apparently it was brand new and I'm going to be the first batch graduating from that. And I did a little bit of research. The fact that I can work and study at the same time in the Netherlands seems like a good deal and a good start. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to pick the Netherlands.
And then you come to Netherlands and you never leave. Do you really enjoy Netherlands?
Honestly, this is the last place I thought I would be in. Obviously, I traveled to Europe for a month. And when I was doing research, it was my first time knowing that Netherlands exists. And then the first thing that I remembered about Netherlands was the weed. And oh, okay, it's a super liberal place. And obviously, the first year when I lived in Scheveningen, which is in an anti-crack house, it was super cheap, by the way. It's like 200 euros per month in a villa.
What is anti-crack house?
Oh, anti-crack is a house where they need somebody to protect it and prevent squatters. The villa was going to be inherited by 80 people. And at that time, I think the accountant or the lawyer is trying to work things out. I don't know the details. They needed somebody to just protect the house from squatters from taking over. Yeah, sometimes squatters take over an empty house in the Netherlands, apparently. That's the first time I learned about it. Sounds very scary, but they were nice people because there were squatters opposite my building. It was hilarious. They borrowed water from my house before and I allowed it. And they were like, can I have some water? And I was like, yeah, sure. You can have some water. Yeah. First it was like, oh, it's a nice change. I have my own brain space, etc. But then I think in hindsight, now that I reflected on it, I would like more social life rather than being so alone and quiet in that house. And then somehow I made my way to Amsterdam. How come I stayed so long? I don't know. My job. I actually like my job right now. And then the work-life balance here in the Netherlands, I do like it. So maybe that's why I stayed. I really don't know where I'm going next. I don't know if I'm going to stay here. But yeah, one day at a time.
Are you still in the exploration stage? Or
I'm not really sure. I think I'm somebody who likes multiple things. And the world I grew up in at least a decade ago, the world teaches you that if you are in finance, you better bloody stick in finance for the rest of your life. But now, you know, with the growing technology and the different mindsets that maybe the Gen Zers are setting, I don't know. It's okay to like more than one thing, right? It's okay that you're multi-passionate. I used to want to be a comic book artist, but who knows? Maybe when I'm in my 50s, I'm going to draw my first comic. I'm not sure. At this moment, I really like being a UX designer. And I'm thinking about maybe mentoring younger designers moving forward. I'm not really sure yet, but I do enjoy my current challenge at the bank.
Sounds very nice. Yeah, if you compare Dutch culture with, let's say, Japanese culture and Singaporean culture, do you see the difference? And do you enjoy the differences?
I think there's a lot to talk about in culture. Communication is very different. Like in Japan, obviously people are more closed off, but they're still very nice with you. And then when I first came to the Netherlands, the service was so bad. I was in shock. Why do you talk to me like this? Dude, I was treated like a freaking king in Japan. And then when I came here, I was obviously so ignorant that I came here. I was like, oh, yeah, it's not my first time here. But the fact that you are so used to the Japanese culture for a year and a half, and then you move to a culture where they don't really give 2 cents about you. It's really weird. As you live here, they are still nice service people, not as extreme as Japan. And one thing is also in terms of language, there's nuances. You can't really make jokes unless you really, really know the language. And Dutch jokes are not really my thing, I'd say.
Not funny.
Not funny at all. Well, I don't know. Maybe some. Maybe I'm just generalizing, right? At this moment, not so much. Some Dutch humor you can really spot. It's just really, really Dutch humor.
Okay, so we don't say it's bad humor. We say it's Dutch humor.
Well, it's a different type of humor, if I might say. In Japan, it's very interesting because they can still be super nice to you, but you don't really get into their community. I have a friend who joined their, I think, school club for a year, but she can't really make close friends in that club.
Even when you speak Japanese so fluently, you can communicate with them in Japanese, but it's still...
They don't really care. They have also quite closed off. They have their own friends. I mean, one example is I don't think I have any Japanese friend at the moment that's stuck throughout my years living in Japan, to be honest. But I have expat friends that I made in Japan that stuck until today. Japanese friend or Japanese group, I don't have that. Maybe I didn't make an effort enough, but I just felt it's quite difficult to have a circle of Japanese friends personally, I'd say.
That's sad. And what about the working environment? So you have been working in Netherlands for like 6 years. Is there any difference in workplace?
Definitely. So that's what I noticed. Well, I'm not very experienced in working in Singapore. I do recognize in my past experience, I'm more used to the boss telling me what to do, what things I need to get done, because it's quite hierarchical, right, in Asian culture. So I was more used to that. I'm like, okay, you tell me what to do, I will accomplish that task. But in the Netherlands, when I was an intern within my first year of studies, I was being treated as an equal, which really shocked me. They value my opinion. What? You care about what I have to say? So, yeah, so that was really refreshing. And the fact that you have to really direct and voice out what you want, I love that. I'm not sure if in Japan you can do that, or I'm not sure if Singapore you can do that. I really don't know. But over here, they really hear opinions. In the Netherlands, definitely more work-life balance. It's so nice. They give you so much trust that you will accomplish your job. And I love that because it gives me motivation to actually want to work for you if you trust me that much. And I really like that. I really like my hybrid working style. When I have to go to the office, I make sure I show up. And when I don't, I can complete my work at home. And I love that.
That's great to hear. And I think we're going to say bye to our audience because we have been already recording so long. And
you can pick whatever you want. I think we've been recording so long and I've been trying to be myself, even though I'm very, very self-conscious with a microphone. And this is my very first time recording a podcast. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. And I love your stories. And thank you for sharing them.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.